So today you're going to be taking your unit test on Reconstruction for Social Studies. I'm going to read the questions and the choices aloud. You can go and pause the video as you need to for each question, and then come back up to the video and click play for the next question. So you're going to put your name right here in this blank. Number 1, the Civil War left the nation devastated, especially in the South. The decades following the war, known as the blank era, were spent trying to repair this damage and reunite the country. Was it Reconstruction, Civil War, Depression, or Ununited? Go ahead and pause the video to answer number 1. Number 2, all of the following were reasons that Reconstruction was needed in the South except lifestyle, destruction of land, worthless economy, or number of weapons. Pause the video now to answer number 2. Number 3, what was the purpose of the 13th Amendment? Was it to free all slaves? To give all women the right to vote? To ensure citizenship to all men who were born or naturalized in the United States? Or was it to give every man the right to vote, no matter race, color, or having a history of enslavement? Pause the video now to answer number 3. Number 4, what was the purpose of the 14th Amendment? To free all slaves, to give all women the right to vote, to ensure citizenship to all men who were born or naturalized in the United States, or to give every man the right to vote no matter race, color, or having a history of enslavement? Go ahead and pause the video to answer number 4. Number 5, what was the purpose of the 15th Amendment? To free all slaves, to give all women the right to vote, to ensure citizenship to all men who were born or naturalized in the United States, or to give every man the right to vote no matter race, color, or having a history of enslavement? Pause the video now to answer number 5. Number 6, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution are often referred to as the Reconstruction Amendments. Which of the following best describes the central theme of these 3 amendments? Freedom of speech, the right to a fair and speedy trial, equal treatment for all American men, freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. Pause the video now to answer number 6. Number 7, what types of people were described as scalawags during the Reconstruction era? White Southerners who cooperated with Black freedmen and Northerners, veterans of the Civil War who refused to return to civilian life in the South, newly freed slaves who were competing for jobs with the poor white population, Northern citizens who moved south to take advantage of the disorder and destruction. Pause the video now to answer number 7. Number 8, what types of people were described as carpetbaggers during the Reconstruction era? White Southerners who cooperated with Black freedmen and Northerners, veterans of the Civil War who refused to return to civilian life in the South, newly freed slaves who were competing for jobs with the poor white population, Northern citizens who moved south to take advantage of the disorder and destruction. Pause the video to answer number 8. Number 9, one of the most heavily debated programs of Reconstruction was the Freedmen's Bureau. While it had mixed results, the primary goal of this program was to establish the sharecropping system to make sure that white farmers continued to employ African Americans, to enforce Black codes or laws that treated African Americans as second-class citizens, prevent the African American population from voting in federal elections, provide newly freed slaves with food, shelter, work, and education. Pause the video to answer number 9. Number 10. Abraham Lincoln had already created a Reconstruction plan to guide the country after the Civil War, but he was blank on April 14, 1865, before he had a chance to put it into action. Assassinated, exiled, impeached, or transferred. Pause the video to answer number 10. Number 11. The main difference between President Lincoln's plan and President Johnson's plan was Johnson's plan required Confederate officials to request a presidential pardon. Johnson's plan required that all Confederate officials relinquish their weapons to Union officials. Lincoln required that all African Americans be given 10% of plantation owners' land, or Lincoln required that 25% of voting men take an oath of loyalty to the United States of America. Pause the video to answer number 11. Number 12. What were black codes? Laws enslaving African Americans again. Laws freeing African Americans from slavery. Laws offering unlimited African American rights. Or laws intimidating and limiting the rights of African Americans. Pause the video to answer number 12. Number 13. Founded in 1865, the blank was a terrorist group created to intimidate African Americans. The members often violently attacked black families and even lynched certain individuals. Was it ISIS, Taliban, Ku Klux Klan, or Citizens Against Northerners? Pause the video to answer number 13. Number 14. What is segregation? The killing of a public figure, usually because of political reasons. The reuniting and rebuilding of a country after war or another significant event. The separation of people because of factors such as their gender, race, religion, or ethnicity. The unfair treatment of a person or group of people, usually because of a person's gender, race, religion, or ethnicity. Pause the video to answer number 14. Number 15. Poll tax, literacy test, grandfather clause. What do the 3 items on this list have in common? And I'll repeat those items. Poll tax, literacy test, grandfather clause. Did they all make it difficult or impossible for African American men to vote? They all went into effect before the Civil War ended. They were all put in place by the Freedmen's Bureau, or they were all approved by the federal government. Number 16. The main difference between tenant farmers and sharecroppers was that sharecroppers could afford to pay rent while tenant farmers used a portion of their crops to pay rent. Tenant farmers could afford to pay rent while sharecroppers used a portion of their crops to pay rent. Sharecroppers paid to rent land with crops while tenant farmers paid to rent land with labor. Or tenant farmers were just another name for slaves, while sharecroppers were poor white people who were paid to work the land. Pause the video to answer number 16. Number 17. Nickname for the laws in the South segregating blacks from whites and attempting to prevent blacks from voting is called Jim Crow laws, black codes, martial laws, or segregation laws. Pause the video to answer number 17. Okay, and here are the charts that we did on our last day of notes. So first you're going to choose what were the political effects of Reconstruction on our 4 groups of individuals that we have identified in this unit. We have African Americans, elite Southerners, poor white Southerners, and some Northerners. So you're going to choose which of these 4 groups supported the interests of African Americans? Next, which of these four groups regained political control after Reconstruction? Which of these four groups voted and elected African Americans and white Republicans? And lastly, which of these four groups cooperated with the Republican government? Pause the video now to answer. You will check one box per row. So you should have one box for each group of people, no more than one per row. The next section, you will do the same way, except for it is for the economic effects of Reconstruction on African Americans, elite Southerners, poor white Southerners, and some Northerners. Which group took advantage of the South? Then you will select which group had sharecropping become the new way of life. Which group took part in tenant farming? And which group re-established cotton production at little cost to them? Pause the video to select which group had each effect for the economic effects of Reconstruction. So you'll check the box for whichever one was affecting that group of people. Okay, our last section is on social effects of Reconstruction. So again, our groups are African Americans, elite Southerners, poor white Southerners, and some Northerners. Which group retained their social position, which means which one kept the same social position? Which group were called scalawags? Which group had the opportunity to attend school now? And which group was called carpetbaggers? When you are finished, make sure to click Submit. Check over your answers to make sure that you have chosen the correct choice and that you have read over all of the choices carefully and chosen the best answer to each question. If you do not know what a word says, you can rewind the video to that part.